Hello everyone, my name is Betsy and today I want to take a moment to go over this pattern here one more time. I know I have shared it before. It must have been probably more than a month ago already, and so I've had quite a bit of time to think about how to readdress this pattern. I know a few people have told me that they were having some difficulties drawing it, and so I think it's actually a pretty good challenge to try to look at some of these things and see if there are any new ways or novel ways to kind of figure out how to create this. So if you have taken a look at the original pattern that I showed, it is under a playlist that I have where I share a couple of different patterns that are my favorite, really. You've probably already seen this, and if you've done well, then that's excellent. Good job. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you maybe one more way to look at it so that we can use this. Here I have it over here on this one as well. It's at the center of it in that light pink. So I'm going to make it here in my little art journal. And to get started, I'm going to need a pencil, so let me grab one of those. And so I'm just going to get started by starting with a dot in the center, really only because I want to draw it kind of like this one, where they all start at a center point and kind of fan out from there. So I'm going to start with this point right here in the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, and I'm actually going to do this a little bit larger than I usually do, just to hopefully be able to create something that you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to draw this shape snaking around like this. I know I'm going to find a few times to let it turn. It's a little bit light right now, so I'm hoping you can see it. Let me get it here in the center. So this line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with my pencil and I'm going to put another line around it. Right next to the first one. It's going to look like a nice long string, like a long worm. So now there are two of them. And I closed off the ends like this. And this is in pencil. I am going to erase this later, but for now I'm going to keep it. So I've got this little snake. It's going to wind around a handful of times, and then I have this point of reference that I'm going to be using. So that's what I have here. Let me turn it around so we can see it this way. So there it is, the snake. It's got depth to it, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and right around the very edges, so like right here. So here's one of my edges. I'm going to make a line down to that dot. And I'm going to look for all of my edges that way. So here's another one here. So I'm going to make a line down that way. I have one over here. So I'm going to make a line from that reference point up to that edge again right here. And I'm going to look for all of those like that. So here's the next one over here. And I'm going to draw it down. It would have gone all the way down here to the dot, but it's going to stop here. So you'll notice that as I do these, I'm starting with the ones that are closest, and I'm working my way further and further away from that reference point. So the next one that I see here is this one here. So I'm going to do a line right there, head downwards, and it looks like I just have one more left over here. And I'm going to do that one heading down that way. Now it's perfectly fine to change these a little bit. I have a tendency sometimes to curve them inward a little bit, like this. Just a little, so that it kind of exaggerates the look. But they can be perfectly straight, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with the pen and I'm going to show you that this is very much giving it that thickness that I wanted originally, plus I have that kind of ribbon effect. And so let's see here. So where I'm going to start is I'm going to begin here from the dot. I'm going to head up that very first line. So there's my first one. And I'm going to follow that top line. And right where it's going to bend, I stop. Okay. And I'm going to find the next one in line, basically. So it's this one here on the left. I'm going to head up that one. I'm going to follow the curve all the way around. So I'm just continuing. And I'm going to continue following that upper curve until the point where it's going to bend. And I stop right there. So now who's next in line? So now this is the bend we're on, so we're going to follow the line that heads up towards that bend. So I'm going to head up from the reference point, follow the curve, and now this one I will follow it, follow it, follow it, and here where it's going to bend, I'm going to stop. Okay, so let's see who's next. This is the bend that we're on, so imagine we're following a road. This is the road we're on, so I'm going to take this line here and follow it up and around. And at the next bend, I stop. One more time. Here's the next one. I'm going to follow this next one up. And now I follow the road. And it looks like I'm done now. So because I'm done now, now I just take that final line that's heading up from the reference point and just up and close it off. So let's see how it looks like when I remove that pencil line. So let me find my eraser here. Let's see what happened. I actually think it looks kind of neat with those pencil lines still in, so I might actually draw something where it still has those. And so there you have it. There is that ribbon. It has that thickness to it, and I did draw it larger than I usually do, just so that I could really show you how it works. So let's make a couple of more, and I will let you watch. So let's see here. I'm still using that same reference point. I'm going to make another little snake, but I'm going to start it here where you kind of can't see the starting point. So I'm going to go here, maybe here. I'm going to try to vary how this thing snakes. So let me move it over just a little. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to do that same thing where I create an entire little snake here. So here it goes. Oh. It's a little bit big there. Let me clean that up. So there we go. Snaking its way around. It got a little close there, but I'll just follow it. There we go. Okay, so we have another little snake here. Now I'm going to start by making those lines heading down. So this one here is out of sight, so I'm not going to worry about it. That would have been the first one. I'm going to follow. Here's the next one. And then here's the next one. Just following that road. And each time I come to a bend in the road, I'm going to create a line. So there's that one. Let's see who's next over here. And it looks like here's the last one. So there are all my lines heading down towards that reference point. It looks like a road that's up on top of a very precarious cliff. Okay, so let's start following those lines again. So I'm starting from the first one I can see, which again, this one's out of sight, so I'm going to start up here. And I'm going to just follow that road around and stop at the next bend. So you'll notice that something's missing right now. It's part of that very first one. So that very first one, because I didn't see the beginning of it, I know that it's just from that inner spot right here, following the upper line. So that's where that first one went. The top line heading over just to where it's about to bend and stopping. So that's where that's at. Let's see who's next here along the line. Looks like this one's next. That was the next bend, so I'm going to follow it up and over and stop. Okay. Here's the next bend. I'm going to follow it up, over, and stop. Here's the next one right here. Up and over. I'm going to follow. It's a nice long curve. Oops. Going to have a little bit of a texture at the top, and then stop. It looks like I have just one more, so I'm going to follow it up and over, and now I'm going to stop and just close that line in. I'm going to start getting rid of some of these pencil lines so we can see the result. Here. So there you have it. There it is. It looks pretty good. So we have two of them. Let's add another one so that we can keep continuing that. So I'm going to put another one right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and make that little snake. So a second line to kind of go with it. Just let it snake around. Let's have it have a little turn right here. Make sure I clean that up. I'm just trying to make sure that you can see really well. So there's my pencil line. It's just a little snake. I'm going to do the same thing again. So here's the very first one. It's the closest. There's my line heading down. Here's the next one. A line heading down. Next one. Right here. I'm just following that road. Here's the next one. Just follow the road. Right there. And the very last one is way up here. So I'm just going to follow that. So now that I have all of my pencil lines in, let's start that very first one. So this one I actually put the line where I could see it. So I'm going to follow that first line outward. Follow the road. And stop at the next bend. So follow out. Take the bend and stop right there where it's bending. Okay. Next one heading out. Follow it along and stop where it bends. So there it is. Let's see, here we got the next one. Follow it out and over. This is another one of those long ones, and right here where it's going to bend, I stop. Here's the next one. I'm going to follow it up and over, and looks like we're done here, so I can just take that final one and bring it up and close it off. So that's it for that one. The ink on this pen stays wet for a few seconds, so I'm hoping not to smear it too much. I noticed it smeared just a tiny bit earlier, so there we go. So that looks pretty good so far. Let me see if I can add just a tiny bit more right here. I'm going to add just one that's kind of hiding like that. So let's see how we can do putting it behind. So I'm going to add the little snaky part to it just to see if it helps. Silly little snake. There we go. So I'm going to follow the top. So this one's just here. Where's the next one? So here's the top of the next one. I'm going to follow it and stop. The next one's really close over here, so I'm just going to go up just slightly. I'm going to follow the top of it and stop at the next bend. Notice I didn't even put my pencil line in here, but I already know where it kind of goes. So it's going to go about here, heading up and over, and then I can just stop at that last one. So I just kind of squeezed one last one in here just so that it's not too empty right there. And I'm even going to go ahead and add another layer to this just so that you can see what it looks like when there's more depth. So I'm going to start by adding another one up here. So these are going to be just much closer. These first ones here were much more opened up just because of the way the shape is, but I'm going to try to create sort of a three-dimensional form here. So over here I'm going to add a few and they're going to be much tighter together. So let's do it here. Much tighter. So like that. So I'm going to do my best to kind of add my forms in here without... Okay, so there it is again. It's much tighter. Again, it's just because of the foreshortening, the way that shapes look different. So let me add the lines heading down. Again, I'm still using this reference point down here. So down, 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 and down. I'm going to use those lines. Let's see, who's the first guy here? It looks like it's this one. Up and over and stop. Up, over and stop. Up, over and stop. Looks like I have one more left. Up, over, and now I can close it off. So I'm going to carefully remove those pencil ends. Let's see how it looks. So however thick or thin you want to create these lines, how far apart you want them is what's going to change the look of it. So there we have it. I'm going to add a few more in real quickly, and I'm going to only use a single line. So what you're going to see me do here is the method that I used before that was a little difficult for a few people, but for me this was just enough to get the pattern going. Oh, it looks like my allergies are really bothering me today. So I apologize for that. So I'm just going to come up and over, up and over, up and over, up, over, and then up and over. So you'll see that when I do this, I use a few less guidelines, but the same effect is still achieved. I'm going to make, I think, 2 more of these shapes to complete the look. So I'm going to add one in, let's say, maybe right here is okay. Just here and like that. So not too much there. Okay, I think that should be good. So let me put it here where you guys can see it. So I'm going to head up, over, up, over, up, over. So that one's there. And I think I want to add one more over here. So let's see, where's a good, I think I'm going to go here. Nice long one, like that, and like that. Let's see how that looks. So up and over, up, over, up, over, up, over. Okay, so for the most part, I think all those things fit in pretty nicely. So there's that design. It's the same as this one here. So although this one's colored in, I'm actually just going to show you really quickly. I'm going to take one of these first forms just so you can see how I do some of the shading here. And I'm going to grab a pen that's just a little smaller. Let me see if I can find it here. Not the 0.05, that's a little too small today. Let's see how we can add some shading into this. So when I come in here, I start from the bottom, and as you can see, obviously I'm using a fairly small pen. This is a 0.1 Pointliner. And I start at the bottom and I make these little lines that feather out really gently. And I'm making sure to vary their thicknesses. So notice how as they head out, they get very, very delicate. You can do the exact same thing with a pencil. Just by changing your pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Then heading out, you just release the pressure. If you have a ballpoint pen or any other kind of technical pen, it should allow you to do this. So I'm just flicking it outward. Notice I'm just following this curve right here. And I'm stopping right there. And so here's this part of it right here. I'm going to do the same thing. Is I'm just going to slowly work these little lines. And just head outward like that. So like that. And so I'm going to leave these areas here. So what I'm basically using is each one of these sort of, I guess they would be like horizontal lines here. The top of this shape I'm creating, and I'm going to put a few just to show you where I'm going to put them here. Filling in this space because I feel like there should be a deep shadow there, heading down into the background of those. So I would just follow those. And just fill them in, heading outward. I know I could be more careful, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't really matter if I'm super careful. I'm just practicing kind of applying pressure and then releasing that pressure. And if I need to, I can add a few more lines here to really accentuate that shadow. So like this. I'm just changing it up the best that I can right here. So you notice it's making a nice little shadow there. Just got a few more lines right here. And so when I have time, I'll come in here and I might even add more layers of these little dash lines here just to kind of really help it along. I can come back like this and add more. Notice as I lengthen those lines, it's like it extends that shadow further out. So this isn't just a one pass through. I can come through here multiple times and just kind of keep adjusting everything. So like that. And it really does help to have a pen that's just a little finer like this. But like I said earlier, you can do this with a pencil as well. It comes out really nicely. So there we go. We got all those lines there. It's a shadow, and we would just keep going like that. And that's actually how I got this effect over here on these guys. That's how those shadows happened. Was using a pencil to kind of just flare out those lines. Start with a lot of pressure and heading out. Of course, here I use multiple pencils because there's the black one that made the deepest shadow. And then heading out from there, I used a purple and a lavender to kind of let it soften out. So that's what you would get. That was the technique for this. So that was my second attempt, kind of showing you how this design is created. I hope this helps. If you give this a try, let me know how it works. This was a good way to challenge myself to really think about how people perceive these forms and what kind of things challenge them. So please let me know how you feel about this one. Give it a try maybe once, twice, a couple times just to see how it works for you. And let me know what you think about it. As usual, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate that you are here with me. And for me today, this is Friday morning. So thank you so much. And I hope you have an excellent weekend. I will do my best to not stress out too much. So same for you. I hope you have an excellent weekend. Thank you so much.